So nobody really wants to be or sets out to be average. And indeed, I think while the concept of average is really useful in mathematics, the idea of applying averages to people just really doesn't make much sense. And yet, so much of what we do in marketing, whatever we think we're doing, so much of what we're doing in our marketing is still really talking to averages. We put people in buckets, last-minute shoppers, frequent travelers. We create personas, the thrifty drifter, as if people are permanently sitting in these buckets and are just like, have a sort of set persona. What I want to do today is talk through some of the real insights we've been working with all of our data, and I'll explain a little bit more about who we are in a second. But in order to do that, I want to set the stage by looking at the evolution of travel marketing and how travel marketing and an increasingly complex traveler path to purchase have really gone together. And given this complexity, we'll start to show some of the ways we need to think differently about the way we market to these modern travelers. And as was said in the very kind introduction, that the core of this is going to be around some recent a Travel Insight report that we put together around the modern traveler path to purchase. And that will really be the core of this presentation. So as you just heard, my name is Stephen Taylor. I come from a company called Sojern. Sojern is really a business that we work with over 5,000 large and small travel brands all the way around the world in every vertical. You can see you all straining to read these slides. There's a lot of words on this slide. Don't worry too much about it. But we work with brands across almost every travel vertical. And the core of what we do, which really informs the insights that we can reveal today, is we work with a whole range of data partners. Very early on, we were founded around 10 years ago. We started working with the world's largest airlines and collecting and aggregating real-time search and booking behavior from those airlines and using that and pulling it together. And then since that time, we've been able to add OTA data to that, meta search data to that, hotel data, really data on real search intent and booking behavior from brands all the way around the world. So we're seeing around 350, 400 million unique users worth of real-time search intent and booking every single month. And that's what sits behind our marketing and distribution business, but it's also what sits behind the insights I can talk about today. So let's put all this in context and think about what things used to be like. Almost nobody in this audience is old enough to remember this sort of advertising. But I don't know about you, even 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, certainly, advertising world just seemed a little simpler. We made educated guesses about where our audience was likely to be. Who are the people that sort of like the product, the hotel, the vacation, the destination that we operate, and where were they likely to be? What, in the digital world, which websites are they on? And maybe I can put some ads on those websites. Pre-digital, it was, I have really simple audiences and simple channels, TV, press, and a number of things. And therefore, there couldn't really be any expectation of tailoring that message to very tight groups, and let alone to individuals. Similarly, the concept of advertising at the right time broadly meant I'm going to advertise at the time when all the research tells me everybody books products like mine, which essentially means we advertise at the same time as every single one of our competitors at the busiest time, and again, sort of make educated guesses about what will happen next. And why was that? Well, in some ways, it's because the consumer travel planning was also a lot simpler or more straightforward. If you think about, again, those of us old enough to remember all the travel planning we did, all the booking we did was one of two ways. You walked down the high street and you spoke to a real travel agent in a bricks and mortar shop. Or if you were really bold, you maybe rang up an airline and tried to engage directly, although that got a little hairy. And so what does that mean? Well, what that really means is, although as a traveler I might have complex needs, really I really had no control over what I was seeing. I had really no control over or sense of pricing transparency. I really wasn't able to make really intelligent guesses. The intelligence, and there was a lot of intelligence, was really sitting inside of the agent that I spoke to, rather than being at the control of the consumer. Pretty obvious stuff. But clearly, that is all changing. If we think about the rise of the OTAs, topics that conferences like this spend a lot of time talking about, we've now got hundreds of different OTAs positioning themselves in different markets. We've got Meta, we've got Google entering the fray with different search and booking capabilities. Every brand, every small hotel to every large global brand has a website, has an app, has a way of you engaging directly. And what that really means, obviously, for the consumer is an awesome time, because now the consumer, the traveler, is in control of that process. The consumer can choose, compare, sit in their own home, have complex needs, research every little different bit of their travel expectations, share it with their families, get reviews, compare prices, book each of the different parts of a vacation separately in what they think is the best way and the best way going forward. And similarly, the advertising, or rather the digital content they consume, is equally fragmented. We all do lots of different things. Yes, we're on Facebook, we're also on other sites. We go to different sites for different reasons. We have different mindsets when we're on them. So we just have to recognize that the need for marketing, and in particular digital marketing, to catch up with these travelers is immense. And what everybody in this room knows extremely well is, not only is that pathway becoming more and more complex, the consumer in more and more control, most of us, not all of us, but most of us, if we have a hotel, if we have an airline, we have a product that dies every single night. So here you've got all these millions of people doing lots of different things with all these different channels they can reach to get to the end product. And you're trying to sell a hotel room that if you don't sell it tonight, you can't sell it tomorrow. Obvious stuff, but really challenging and hard stuff in the way that the world is now set up. And that is because, as we've said, that travel planning has been evolving dramatically. These are some stats that nearly every conference we've ever had, Expedia or somebody will use these stats, and I think they're quite helpful. Back in 2013, they talked about the traveler path to purchase. They did desk research, and they figured out that the average, that word again, the average traveler was going to 38 different sites before making a vacation booking. They repeated the same research 3 years later. They found that had gone up to 140 sites on average. So if we believe this desk research, you're seeing even then the complexity in 3 years had gone up and up. The number of different opportunities consumers had to choose had gone up and up. So we can see the world is getting more complex. The challenge with research like this is it's desk research, it's survey research. It is really helpful to tell us that the world is complex. It's not very useful in telling us who do we speak to when? How do we actually talk to these individuals? If the average traveler is doing 140, what that actually begins to tell me is I need to know what each traveler is doing. Because if everyone's doing 100, if the average is 140, some are doing 10, some are doing 500, some are doing none. What are they all doing? It's all different. And that's what we set out to uncover in our latest work. As I said, we are seeing data points, billions of data points from hundreds of millions of unique users every single month. And so we thought the best way of looking at this is, let's look at what real customers are doing in real time. Let's uncover the pathways to purchase and see what is really going on at an individual level. Because if we can do that and we can track those individuals, we can then start help people engage with the individual who is doing all these complex things rather than some average bucket of people who do lots of things. If at the end of this you're still interested in this report, you can find it on our website at sojern.com. It's called Pathway to Purchase or Paths to Purchase. We're over in we have a lounge area in 7-1B. By the speaker area there, and we have some hard copies of this report if people would like to come over there and get it. So let me talk about what this actually is. First thing to realize, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, I apologize by the end of this presentation, but it's really crucial. First thing to realize and remember is this is real people. We follow real people in real time as they jump from website to website, as they jump from desktop to mobile, as they make their travel purchases. What we do not have, because we don't want it, is personally identifiable information. So we don't know the names and addresses of these people, but we have given them pseudonyms because it's easier for us to talk through. So you're going to hear some names in a minute. These are made up names, but just as a way of taking you through what real individuals have actually done with their time. And as I say, the whole point of this is to recognize not that we have found the travel path to purchase for a theme park or the travel path to purchase for a hotel, but to recognize that every single travel path to purchase is different. Every single one. And if every single one is different, the only way ultimately to market effectively to these people is to work with people who can help you figure out what an individual is doing at a real time at that moment, and therefore what message to send to them. And if you can figure those out, then you're in the true world of personalized marketing, which we'll talk on at the very end of the presentation. Okay, if that makes sense, what I'm going to do is that the report talks in general about the path to purchase and the concept of it. It also talks quite a lot about 8 individual pathways. And again, they're not 8 representative pathways, or rather, they're representative only in the sense that they show how complex things are. They're real individuals. What I'm going to do now is run through just 2 of those quite quickly to give you a flavor of what we see and what real people are actually doing. So let's start with Eric. Again, I don't know that he's called Eric. I don't know that this is what he looks like, but it just feels more human if we give him a name and give him and his family a face. What we do know is that Eric lives in Florida. We know he has a family, and we know he's a loyalty member of one of the major theme parks, amusement parks in the Florida area. You can guess which one. And if we were to put him into the buckets that I told you not to do at the beginning, if you were just to look at all of his behavior, you'd go, okay, Eric is clearly a frequent traveler. Eric is a loyal member of a theme park, so he's clearly very loyal to that company. He's a heavy mobile user, as we'll say. So mobile is his thing. These would be the sort of buckets we'd put Eric in. But when we followed Eric over really a 6-7 month period, just looking at his theme park activity and the things related to that theme park, Eric had 451 different travel interactions in making his decision and vacation planning. 451. And those 451 were on a ton of different theme parks, the same one multiple times, different ones. They were in hotels, which were competitive to some of the theme parks. They're in car, in air. A whole ton of different things were going on with Eric in that path to purchase. And it may not look like it on the screen, but this is a radically simplified version of Eric's path to purchase over that time period. Again, don't worry too much about every single word. I'll take you through the sort of building blocks of this. And probably the important thing to note, really just as a visual or an eye chart, is the color key. We simplistically put sort of the dreaming, sort of big search phase into a sort of blue color. Planning, when he's really focusing down on individual dates, individual destinations, into orange. And then when he's booking, into green. So let's start really simply, and I'll take you through this, just in big lumps. It takes Eric he starts looking at big theme parks, and it takes him about a month of sort of looking, going in and out, shopping around, to start really homing in on the thing he really wants to do, which is a family vacation. So it's 4 to 6 people he's then beginning to look at a theme park for November. This is the thing that by the sort of first orange blob up there, he's homing in on. Now still, even though he's homed in on that, he spends another couple of months iterating around that, going to one theme park, going to another theme park, going to hotels that are competitive with the theme parks which also have hotels, looking at OTA, looking at a whole different ways of thinking about this same November family vacation. So a lot of planning, a lot of research. And then all of a sudden, he makes a booking. Very exciting. Except the booking he makes is for 2 people to a theme park at Christmas, not in November, that he hasn't researched at all online at any point. So it's a sudden booking that had nothing to do with what he's just spent the previous 3 months doing. And soon after that, he makes another booking at a competitive theme park, not the one where he's a loyalty member. And again, it's for a short trip. And all of this stuff he's doing on his mobile device. Eventually, we get back in August when he starts researching for the stuff he started searching for in April. Big family vacation to a Florida theme park in November for the whole family. And critically, at that moment, he swaps and stops using his mobile device and goes to his desktop and then actually makes the booking at one of the theme parks for the family vacation in November. The thing that he started looking at about 5 months before, and the thing that he still won't actually do for another 2 months' time. So you can see massive lead times over that particular period. Fairly quickly after that, he goes and books again, this time for the same theme park trip for a single day, literally for 2 days after the booking he's just made. So again, massive change of behavior. Interestingly, I think it's interesting, he then does some searches for flights from New York to Orlando, which sort of makes sense because he's a big theme park vacation in Orlando, makes less sense because he actually lives in Orlando. So clearly there's something else going on here. There's a whole other set of family or different people he's bringing down, does the same on car hire. So again, one individual, but what does it tell us? Well, it tells us that he's a loyalty member who is very happy to buy as many products from somebody who's not a member of the loyalty program as he buys at the loyalty program. We can see that he's a mobile user, and yet when it comes to making the big decision, he swaps to his desktop. If you're not on both mobile and desktop and able to track him in that way, you're going to lose him in one place or the other and not know where this has come from. We can see that he takes 7 months to plan a family vacation and also books things last minute. So if you're sitting and waiting for him at that last click at the end of the classic marketing funnel, you probably missed the time when he was making the big decisions, because that was 5 months ago. You're way too late to influence what he's actually about to do. So really fascinating stuff. I'll skip over there's a second one. In the interest of time, I'll skip over it pretty quickly. This one we happen to look at a cruise traveler. Again, you see tons of different behavior, way less than Eric, but still a lot of different things, different interaction points. Perhaps the most interesting thing about Isabel, as we've called her, is she starts with what we would all dream of, the classic dream phase. She literally goes onto websites, several of them, and looks for a cruise anywhere in the world at any time in the next 2 years. That's a real dream phase. Where could I go? I want to do a cruise. It could be anywhere in the world. It could be at any time in the world. It's a classic dream phase. Yet actually what you see is within 18 days, contrast that to Eric, who took 7 months to go to a theme park, 18 days, she goes from one cruise anywhere in the world, narrows it down to a Caribbean cruise, narrows down the date, and books. And the minute she books, she starts booking everything else. She's booking airlines, she does last-minute hotels, she does shops around for all these different things. Again, a simple way, simple example that if you just have one lens for who she is or what she's doing, you're going to miss all the other stuff that's going on. So as I promised, we'd sort of conclude the session with some stuff around, okay, that's sort of interesting. What does it mean for us as marketeers? What is it beginning to tell us about the things we need to be able to do? Well, at one level, I think we still need an organizing principle. So people like funnels or all sorts of different things. But if you think about this funnel we've been through, the sort of dreaming through into search and planning through into booking, what we've seen is that different people are in different stages of this funnel for different periods of time. Some people skip phases altogether, and most of us are actually in several different phases for several different travel things at exactly the same time. So again, the idea of a simplistic marketing program begins to die, and you have to start thinking about how to personalize real-time messaging to people in real time around what they're doing. So let's think about what that might mean for an individual brand and what an individual company, even a very successful company, a DMO like this or a hotel group can actually see. You know, you might serve an ad for somebody, and at some point at a later stage, that person visits your website. Great, hallelujah. The website moment, I can now retarget that person, and I can sort of feed off what they've just done on my website and try and get them to come back. And it may be at some stage after that they do something with me or somewhere else. Now, if I'm that individual brand, that seems quite logical. It seems quite linear. I did some ads, they came to a site, I did some retargeting, logical pathway. But if you look at the data we see and you look at the total path, you'll see that actually this individual is doing way more complex things than that. They're doing things before they ever saw your ad. They're doing things before you came to the website. They're looking at OTAs, at alternate destinations. They're booking all sorts of other places that you could have been involved in, but you didn't know that they were doing. And then at the end of that, they go and convert in other places other than the thing that you were offering. So it's only with the sort of data, the insight, the understanding of that path to purchase that companies like Sojern and others bring to the party. And with the data science that lays on top of that, that says, okay, I can see that real-time pathway. Now I need to make decisions. Do I serve an ad here? Do I do different things? Do I think, what do I think about this opportunity? Okay, they've done 4 different things in the US. Now I know what he's actually looking for rather than what I thought he was looking for. And perhaps to put it in an even simpler way, if we think about travel, which is the thing we're all engaged in, and I'm sure most of us love being in the travel industry, we think it's the most exciting industry. And one of the reasons it's exciting is if you think about the potential audience for almost anything that any of us sells, that potential audience is absolutely huge. It is just about everybody. If any of us have got a little bit of money, a little bit of holiday time, we can go almost anywhere in the world at almost any time, and we can research it and book it through almost any channel. So that's amazing, but it's also really, really hard work if you're the individual hotel, the individual hotel group, the individual airline. How do you make sense of all that? Because what you know is a ton of really deep, powerful, meaningful stuff about the customers that you already know about. And that is a tiny fraction, a tiny percentage of the total potential audience. And it's a tiny percentage even of the audience that's actually in market at that moment in time for your products and services. So that's what somebody like Sojern and others who can collect and aggregate this data is trying to bring to the party. How do you look at all the people that are in market right this very moment for the things that you do, but they haven't come to your website at this moment in time? They may be sitting on your CRM, but you don't know that they're active somewhere else researching the very things that you offer. And interestingly, I think the real magic comes from this is when you can combine the two. When you can combine that ecosystem data of, okay, this individual has been on 3 different OTAs and airlines and searched from multiple destinations on the east coast of the USA. And you're a hotel group that has rooms in the east coast of the USA, and actually you have this individual in your CRM, you know they like corner rooms, they like family rooms, they have a certain way of purchasing. So now think about the ad, just think about a simple ad we can actually put to the traveler. This is a traveler you do not know is in market, but you can put a personalized ad to the right destination that they're looking to travel to, that features the corner room you know that they stay in at the right price for the date in which they're traveling. So it's a highly personalized ad to somebody that actually hasn't been to your website for 6 months, but is in market right now. This is really the powerful stuff around understanding data, understanding the traveler path to purchase. And just finally, and I, as you could probably gather, I could spend a whole presentation just on this slide. You know, it's not enough, if we're thinking about the modern traveler, go back to those slides at the very beginning around advertising now and travel planning now. It's not enough just to know that, be able to see all the data of all the things they're doing. It's not even enough to know to then put the data science on top of that allows you to make decisions about who to talk to and when to talk to them. What you also then have to be able to think through is the channel strategy of what is the best place, the best device, the best environment to reach them. Think back to Isabel and her dreaming phase. If somebody like us can help you understand that Isabel is looking for any cruise anywhere in the world in the next 2 years, what an opportunity to influence her dramatically through video advertising targeted just at Isabel for your cruise, your world destination. Those opportunities are massive. And right at the other end of the funnel, if they have engaged with you, they've been on the website, they've done 10 other things, the data that you can pull together for that to then engage at Facebook with dynamic ads for travel, which is a phenomenal retargeting product, way better really than standard display now, to engage with that traveler at that moment and get them to come back and then finally make that booking. So again, you have to have the data science, and the channels that link with that. And that's what this has all really been about. We followed Eric and Isabel through their path to purchase, and we've seen that real travelers in real time are doing really complex things. And I'd argue that advertising now can only be about finding ways of engaging with people in real time based on that real-time behavior, being able to serve the right message through the right travel, at the right time, on the right product or channel to reach that person in a very highly personalized way. And that is what I think advertising now and it needs to all be about. As we said at the beginning, if you shoot for the average, you'll miss the target. And missing the target is bad enough, but somebody else is likely to snap up that target, one of your competitors, because they do understand that path to purchase. So thank you very much. That's the end of the time. As I say, the path to purchase reports, which is really all the data insights that we got from that, available on Sojern.com, available at 7.1 1B. Not sure we have any time for questions. I like to do that deliberately so that nobody gets too clever. I think we have no time for questions.
I think we're right at the end of the presentation.
That's great. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. I hope it was helpful, and you can find all the information. Thank you.
Stephen Taylor, everybody.